Ladies and gentlemen, it is day 4 of the Call of Duty 2020 reveal Easter egg, the Warzone Easter egg, whatever you want to call it. And since Friday, when this first started, we have gotten more and more information with more and more locations inside of Warzone that have led us to various pieces of intel. And as we can see here, today was the 4th day of that. Now, the last video I made on this was on Friday, and I said that I was going to bring you guys an update the further that this progressed. So that is what this video is. In this video, we're going to be going over all of the information that we know so far and what this could mean moving forward, because there is another piece that I haven't really heard too many people talk about, but to me it's pretty clear that we're going to need this piece to solve the further puzzle. Now, first, let's start back at the beginning on day 1 with what we got that day. We're going to quickly go over each and every day, what we found, and then what it means moving forward. So this website, pontakespawn.com/TV, all started with a bunch of YouTubers get it sent a big black crate, and inside was a projector, and these slides eventually led to a puzzle, which led us to this website. Now, on the Friday, the first tape that we got was the green tape, we're going to call it that for now, that ranges from 1961 to 1962.
When their ransom is paid.
The president visits the big missile center at Vandenberg Air Force Base.
Now, each of these tapes kind of has their own theme. The first one that we have here in 1961 to 62 starts talking about the Cold War, the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Russians, and ballistic missiles. And that was kind of the theme of this one. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some other random things scattered throughout there, like weather reports and odd things like that, but for the most part, that's what it was talking about. Now, as these tapes play, eventually, as you watch them, down in the bottom right-hand corner, a code is going to pop up, and that code leads you to a section of the Warzone map. The first one that we had led us to a secret room inside of the Krovnik farmlands. Once you put the code in that pops up on the VHS, it leads you into the room, and inside this room, there were 4 different puzzle pieces scattered throughout the room, each of them different on different pieces of paper, and eventually leading us to a code. So the tapes continued on to the second day. On the second day, we have the orange tape that's 1968 to 1969. Nice. And with this, we hear a little bit more about presidential elections with Nixon. On top of this, a little bit more about space travel, as you can see here. And all of this was starting to get tied in together, pushing us forward into the late 1960s. On top of this, we also got another code, which led us to bunker number 3. And this was the first time that we were actually able to open a bunker using a code. And inside, once again, we found 4 more pieces of the puzzle. On top of this, on the main desk, there was like an odd looking statue that somehow looked a little bit like Imran Zakhaev, but not totally like him, so I don't know if it's supposed to be him or not. But like I said, 4 different pieces of a puzzle, and you can get inside the bunker. And as you can see, there was also an elevator that had a red light on that you couldn't use. Now, there is a rumor that these elevators, you're going to be able to go down them, and you're going to be able to travel from one bunker to another using what is ever underneath these elevators. Now, the one other thing that's been happening in these videos is on screen in the middle of the video, an image will pop up of Nixie tubes with numbers displaying on them. And this seems to be happening more and more throughout the various videos that we're getting. And this is probably going to somehow tie into decoding some of the puzzles. Now, this brings us to day 3.
Another victory for personal diplomacy on a global scale.
So tape number 3 displays the years 1972 to 1973. It has the blue sticker on it. And with this tape, we got a lot of information about the American relationship with Russia. On top of that, the Watergate scandal with Nixon. And that is kind of the main focus along with the Olympics in this tape. Of course, there's other things, but that's what it focuses on. Now, eventually, once again, another code pops up on the VHS. And with this, when you go to this location, it brings you to prison, which brings you to a shack that was actually open about 2 months earlier. Now, inside the shack, once again, there are several different pieces of the puzzle, but there is also a broken down RCXD car laying on the table. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about this one in a little bit, but the RCXD definitely ties into the whole Black Ops idea because it's one of the mainstay kill streaks that has been in most of the games. Now, as I said before, on top of this, there are 3 different pieces of the puzzle that are in this room as well, and just like the other rooms, you can just find them lying around. And this brings us to our final update, which came out today. This is day 4.
Of course, you know by now that Elvis Presley died yesterday. Later today, his body will lie in state at his home, Graceland, in Memphis, Tennessee.
So in day 4, we have 1977 to 1978. There's a pink sticker on this one. And aside from hearing about Elvis Presley's death, the other weird things that we hear about in this one is covert operations being run by the CIA involving mind control and human subjects. And we also hear a lot more about space travel as well. Now, eventually, way later in the tape being played, another code pops up in the bottom right-hand corner, which takes us to bunker number 1 on the map. Now, going to bunker number 1, you go inside, and once again, you find various pieces of the puzzle. I found 3 in total inside this one. And the other ones we found 4. This one appears to only be 3, which does match with the final amount of 22 different pieces of the puzzle that we know of so far. Now, one interesting thing about this bunker is that it also ties into that RCXD that we saw before, because on one of the tables, we can actually see batteries and wheels that would go on an RCXD to actually put it back together. It even has the front side bumper of the RCXD as well, once again tying that all together. So will we get an RCXD in Warzone, or is this just a teaser pointing towards Black Ops once again? Also, once again, inside this bunker, there is a couple of closed doors, and on top of that, a closed elevator that you can't get in as well. So this sums up all of the tapes that we have so far, and when we go to the E=mc² version of Pawn Takes Pawn, we see that day 5 is now scheduled for tomorrow, assumably at noon once again, and it also appears as though we are going to get some separate dates. This one almost looks as though this might just be one individual year though, which is kind of interesting, and we're getting closer and closer to the 1980s. Now, as far as what we know about the puzzle so far, we have talked about this before, but there is a PDF file with all of the different pieces of the ciphers and the different puzzles all in one PDF. As I said before, I will link this down in the description of the video if you want to go and check it out and try to solve these. Now, everything that is written right here with the white things are all what this person who put together this file has personally solved. And I don't actually think that they're all correct. So I do think that we're still missing some pieces of the puzzle, even though we actually have all of the ciphers. And the thing that makes me say that is when you go and look at an individual piece of the puzzle, you'll see that in one of the corners, there's a small circular sticker on that individual piece of the puzzle. And when we go to pawntakespawn.com, you can see all of the VHS tapes have very, very similar stickers on them as well. So I think you're going to have to do something with an individual tape with that type of puzzle, and they're going to incorporate together. And since we don't have all of the tapes yet, we won't be able to solve the puzzle until the final day, which is looking like that final day is actually going to be the 19th, aka this Wednesday. Now, the big question from here is what is coming this Wednesday? Is it just going to be the final piece of the puzzle? Are we going to be getting a trailer? Is it going to be a full reveal of the game? Or is it going to be more steps of this Easter egg? Personally, I don't have the answer, but definitely something big is going to happen on that final day. So honestly, after the 4 days that we have seen so far, I think we brought up more questions than answers. We keep getting these different codes that take us to either a bunker or a shack, which inside have more puzzle pieces, and we're getting more and more of them with more and more video, which has more and more Nixie lights inside of them. And essentially from all of this, we haven't really discovered any solid answers. We still at this point don't know whether this is leading us to a trailer, a name reveal, an in-game event inside Warzone. We don't really know. Now, what we do know is that tomorrow, like every Tuesday, we have an update for Modern Warfare coming out. After this, it appears as though Wednesday is going to be the final day for this Easter egg, so those two are kind of lining up. So I'm guessing on Wednesday is when we'll actually start to see a little bit of answers, and maybe we'll be able to start solving some of these puzzles and ciphers. Now, every time one of these comes out, I stream it over on Twitch. If you haven't checked out my Twitch, it's the first link down below. On top of that, I'm also going to be streaming some Warzone games tonight, so if you want to check out my stream, I go live all the time, so if you want to check that out, like I said, first link down below. On top of that, if you do come out and watch the stream, there are currently drops live in the game, which means just by watching my stream, you can actually earn the items that you're seeing here simply by watching. But as we get more and more of this information and some of these puzzles start to get solved, I want to ask you guys, where do you think this is leading us? Is it a trailer? Is it a name? Is it going to be another website with more Easter eggs? Or is it going to be a Warzone in-game event? What do you think this is leading up to? Because clearly this has been in the making for a while, as we see that one shack with the RCXD was in there 2 months ago. So they have had this planned. The question is what does this bring us to? And personally, as of right now, I don't know the answer, but I can't wait to start solving this thing. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. I will keep you guys updated as soon as anything big happens. On top of that, if you enjoyed this video, it is always appreciated if you hit that like button. Let me know what you think of all of this down in the comments. But as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, peace out.
Listen.